Do I have any? Do you have an agenda? Okay.
You gotta bring it up.
Look on mine.
We'll start the meeting to order. Thank you. And we'll start with a flag salute. Right there.
Over there.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I need to borrow this.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So, need a motion to approve the agenda for this morning?
I move to approve the agenda.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Agenda's approved. Public comments. Anybody have any public comments before we start? Okay.
I would like to insert here, if it's appropriate, an opportunity for Mr. Eisen from the Masons to make his presentation to
Okay.
the school board.
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you.
The Sonic Lodges across the country have started a program to purchase and either donate or keep these in our lodges. But this is a land-down portrait, which the original was the one that Dolly Madison removed from the White House as it was being burned. The Founding Fathers recognized that if they were going to have people voting them into office and basically deciding who was going to run the country, and recognize a need for education. And so Ben Franklin and George Washington were the ones probably most noted for recognizing this, and Ben Franklin actually established the first school of any sort, which is now, I think, recognized as the University of Pennsylvania, not Penn State, the University of Pennsylvania. And anyway, so the Founding Fathers, the visionaries that they were, many of whom were Masons, recognized this and obviously supported public education throughout all the years since the founding of our country. And so the Masons have taken up that goal also. So it's one of our goals to support public education in any way we can. So we would like to donate this portrait to be hung someplace, and I believe
The high school? Yeah.
Rosenbach thinks it should go in the library. Is it?
Yes.
And, and I have a plaque being made. I'll pick up today that will go on the bottom and state, that we've donated this, and hopefully it'll be a treasured thing in this school for forever.
Very cool.
And that's that.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much.
Drop it back to there tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Eisen. That is so wonderful. And I talked to the principal yesterday. They're very excited to have it there, and they will share the information that you shared with me too with the classes.
Very good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Appreciate that.
again.
Thank you.
All right. Individual board member comments, if there are any. Figured we just met a little bit ago. We don't have any student board members here, do we? Okay.
No, Spencer did email that he's still in Eastern Washington.
Okay. All right, moving on then. The NMEA bargaining agreement. The administration recommends that the board of directors approve the NMEA bargaining agreement as presented. We have some tentative agreements here. And I will accept a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the bargaining agreements.
Okay. Discussion.
I'd like to just take a couple minutes to go through this TA.
Okay.
Yeah, while you're going through those, because what we sent to them last night was the completed document, the same one that you had. So While you're going through those, I would just like to mention that the team that worked together with members from both sides of the table worked really hard and came up with an agreement that we think supports our staff in doing their work for kids and recognizes the hard work that happens every day in our schools. We have an agreement that gives an average 27% increase in salary that brings us in line with our neighbors in the higher districts that were paying more than we were. So we are definitely in the competitive zone now.
Here, here.
The full disclosure would tell you that the place that we're still not there is at the top end of the salary schedule, where regionalization dictates what our final square can have in it. And so that is a very serious reason to continue to fight against regionalization, or at least to give us a fairer distribution, because there are only a few places that there are real limits, because the language is so vague in the legislation that was passed last year. But that is one that is the final, the top end is defined, and part of the definition includes the regionalization. So that limited what we as two sets of teams working together could agree to on that spot. So it's something to work for. But I'm very pleased. I think this is a fair and professional salary for our teachers, and I think the work that our teachers and our district office staff did in the negotiation room built improved our contracts in ways that built a framework for professionals, and we're very proud of that.
I have a point of inquiry.
Yes.
And I don't mean to pick on you, John, but the language that you used for this motion, you said to accept. And typically when we accept something does not necessarily mean approve. And I was wondering if that's what you were really intending, was to
Oh,
approve
yes.
or accept.
I approve, and would hope that we would.
Okay, great, thanks. And I have a couple other questions just in general.
Okay.
I read the material from last night, which is of course somewhat different from this, and I haven't had a chance to finish going through this, but one question was, and I suspect it may not be in here anyway, where does the issues of when a teacher does some extracurricular stuff occur? Is that in the contract or somewhere else, such as, for example, the Builders Club teacher advisor?
Right. So
Stipends and stuff.
in the contract, in Appendix C, is where we address the stipends and financial remuneration for teachers that do things above and beyond. So it is listed on that third page of Appendix C, which, so for ease today, I handed you separately. It was sitting at your desk. So there are 3 pages. The first one is the 2018-19 salary schedule. The second one is the 19-20 salary schedule. And the third page is the salary stipend schedule. And Builders Club is not specifically called out on that one for the middle school, but you can see that there is club advisor salary that is listed there, and that would be where Builders Club falls.
Yeah, actually, my question really wasn't so much about Builders Club. It was
Just
in general.
anybody,
Yes,
yeah.
I didn't find that.
No, using them as an
information last night.
example,
Yeah.
and I think this is great because, A, there's raises that are more, provide more recognition for the work that people do in each of those roles, but also it's much more easy to understand than the 2-page document that we had about all the different stipends in the previous contract.
Great, thanks. That answers my question.
So along with that question, these stipends are in total. These are not per event.
No, these are for that role, and so,
I'm thinking particularly in the area of drama. There's more than one play a year. There's more than one music presentation a year. And so
well, there's
forth.
one musical play, so there's one stipend for the musical producer, but if there's more than one play,
It's just for that year.
Just for that
For the whole year.
that year.
So, for instance, the music issue here, because music is my love, as everybody knows. This stipend then covers anything during the year that the music.
Okay, no. So if you look at, it depends on which music stipend you're looking at, which grade level.
Okay,
So, like, music at the bottom on the left-hand side of the
okay,
page
okay,
has a stipend for the instrumental jazz that is outside the school day.
Okay.
It has a stipend for marching band because
Okay.
it has a lot of work outside the school day, and one for
Okay.
vocal for the work. So
Okay, thank
it's
you.
not just one of those, it recognizes each separate role.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. So did you, I'm sorry, I was reading, did you mention what the total percentage of increase this
Yes,
is? will be?
the total percentage increase is 27%.
Nice.
And, you know, that is higher than in some areas, but we also have to recognize that we were lower to start with. So we did have the opportunity to catch up with the average and then to stay with near our local people. So that might be part of why somebody will look at it and say, well, your neighbor only gave whatever percent, but we were starting in a different place.
Okay.
Is there a cap per employee for the stipend schedule?
No.
No, okay.
We did not have a cap for these.
Is that?
Yeah, hours of the day might be a really good one.
No more than 26 or 27.
Is that?
I'm good.
I do have, I'm gonna have two other questions here in a sec,
Okay,
at least two.
all right.
And
I have lots of experts in the room because I wasn't really in the bargaining room, so I may rely on either of the bargaining teams to help
Oh,
answer
that's fine,
questions.
that's fine.
Okay.
I do have a question. I'm gonna get the terminology wrong, but that was, my question is about the terminology. I'm not finding it in here because I don't have the table of contents to know it was on page 17 in the old document, even though the table of contents listed is on page 13. But it was, I think it was co-curricular. What does that mean?
Those are activities that will have a place in the classroom and outside of normal workday. So
Both.
we'll have co-curricular.
Yearbook.
Yeah, there you go, yearbook, it's a class. But it also they are gonna need to show up at sporting events to take pictures and all of that kind of stuff. So you see it both during the school day and after.
Okay, so that's what the term really is referring to, is stuff that goes beyond the classroom in particular.
But starts in the classroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I thought, I had a different idea of what it might have been. I just didn't understand it, so thank you.
Okay. Association leave. The association may use up to 35 days per year of leave. Where do those days come from? Are those
Those-
That was the biggest contract language that we had.
Okay.
Primarily this year, they were used for lobbying and Olympiad to move us from 0% regionalization to 6% regionalization.
Okay.
Those are, and they could be days that where we need to have a midday meeting because of someone else's schedule. Often happens because at the moment, and in our past, all of our presidents have been full-time teachers as well. We haven't had, other districts have release-time presidents. Their president is simply a union president, but as North Mason with most people,
Mhm.
our jobs are multifaceted. So I'm also in the classroom in addition to being
Okay.
a president.
But with that, so if you have to go out on association leave and it's three hours, I mean, just throwing a number out there, does that constitute a day, or is it based off a number of hours?
Yeah, it's based off our normal.
7.5 hour workday. Okay. And then the other question I have is regarding the class sizes. What's that going to do with us facility-wise? What kind of pressure does that put on?
Well,
I mean, I'm all about lowering the
no.
class sizes, but I mean,
Well,
what does that?
our
have-
class sizes really fit within the ones that we put in the contract right now anyway.
Okay.
Those are not lowering them from where we are. It's lowering the limits that we had in place. but our class sizes, for the most part, fit within those already.
Okay.
But we are bursting at the seams, and really this contract is not making us burst any sooner. But we are definitely going to begin that conversation with our community this year about, okay, we need more space. What's that going to look like, and what kind of bonds are we going to have to go out for next? And I know that our teachers are going to help us with that work because they understand it better than most.
So is that change in the chart, that's it's changing it from a range to a limit? That means that at this
So
point
if you go
then-
over that limit, then the overage would go into effect for your class. So you would get get that
okay.
extra boost per student that you're over.
Right,
That
your
was-
so it's
team.
later. Right, got it, thanks.
Any other questions, comments?
No, not for me.
Okay. All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. And all those in favor of approving of the agreement with the NMEA and the school district signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract carries. And we are going to, with that said, go into adjournment. Is there any comments from anybody before we?
I do.
Okay.
So, as I said, as most North Mason people, you're multifaceted. You're a parent and an administrative assistant. You're a para and a club advisor. I happen to be a teacher and a union president, but I really am very thankful for the work that these teams did for our teachers at our ratification meeting last night. There was a sense of peace about so many things. We really put forward a strong message as a district about self-care for our teachers. If you need to take leave types, if you need to take personal leave to go to a wedding, or you need to take bereavement leave to be with your family, we gave our teachers a lot of autonomy in how that functions and the ability to do what's necessary for your personal life so that when you're with our kids, you're fully present. Was a really strong message, and I really appreciate it from those teams that worked on that. And then the class size, I know that we feel the strain as teachers when you get just more and more kids, and we love the enrollment. And we love that our kids keep wanting to come here. And this contract really puts forward a working environment that will encourage teachers to move families with them when they come over here and increase that enrollment. And we love the enrollment, but we also know that every child that comes through our doors that adds more time is always out of contract. No one grades during the school day. You grade at home on the couch while you're spending time with your family. So the understanding of those teams and the school board to approve our class sizes being a maximum so teachers can plan. If we have 3 kids, I know what my take-home pay is going to be from that. That is massively important to us. And then the pay scale alone had people in tears. It really did. There was relief and joy last night. We had comments like, I can keep my house now. I can buy a house. I can start saving for college. We can send her to the good school was one of the comments we had from teachers, because we never, when we talked in July and came back in August for general membership, and I came in with a huge chip on my shoulder with the legislator, knowing that we were at 0, and I was so frustrated. And we came into this year super angry about how that had worked out in Olympia and how our teachers were getting shorted. And the effort that you put in this year in January through the legislative session for us to work together on getting regionalization fixed and being able to stand there and say, we got every penny of McCleary. The school board and the school district funneled it right to you. And we still isn't enough for the next district, and we're going back in January to start again. That was a phenomenal response. And you have the entire backing of our staff to go get the rest of the regionalization we're owed, but just the relief and thankfulness. It's not something you could see there, but I'm hoping as you go through and you see our teachers in town, you'll understand what this meant to them. So thank you, those of you that are on the teams, and thank you for approving this schedule. I know it is a big leap of faith that our enrollment will grow, that we will grow the capacity for those students, but I'm super thankful for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody
You
else?
you
Go and
through
follow that up.
without-
all went in knowing that, wow, this is bigger than we've ever had to do, or just more complicated. And I think both sides worked together. Yes, there were some issues that
Always
we
is.
just had to work out and compromise. I think the most important thing to me, and probably to most administrators in this district, is that we're going to be competitive with
Yes.
the other districts, and we're not going to be the JVs.
Mhm.
So that's where we are. So we appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Well, I'm really pleased that you are base
Laura, we're
salary.
not on the board section yet.
I'm sorry.
Any other public comment? And then Laura can go. Laura, it's all you.
Oh, thank you. I'm really pleased that the base salary will reflect a much greater per diem for everyone, because that reflects in your sick leave, in your retirement, in all those areas that per diem affects. So I'm really glad that you folded a lot into the base salary and didn't put it on separate lines and try to identify this is this, this is this, this is this. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased for you all.
The only complaint that I have with this whole thing is I'm gonna have to learn a new pitch. I had it all down talking to legislatures about what our needs are and how we're a poster child for this and that. And I'll have to get with Dana soon and discover what it is I need to be disturbed about. So,
You can still use a lot of the same rhetoric,
okay.
just adjust a
well,
little bit.
I'm really glad to do that. I'm really happy that we addressed this one point. And I remember taking legislator after legislature and talking to people in the community about the disparity in salaries. I mean, that just struck me as so unjust. And I'm glad that we've addressed that in a positive way.
Yeah.
No, I'm just moved by when she stood up, so I'm just gonna cry about it. But I'm humbled by the work that you guys do. I'm gonna kind of leave it there because I'm emotional today. I don't know. That's an emotional thing when you go into this. You take it all home. It's powerful. Your family is sitting there with you, biting their nails, and I know what that feels like. And so I'm just want you guys to know that we love you.
I will add one more thing. I really think it's important that you folks be able to stand proud. We've had an ambiguous relationship between the community and the teaching profession, and I think this does you appropriate honor for now. And the stories about what this means for your homes is also a tale about the vocation, because I think teaching is an appropriate vocation. And without the teaching profession, after the Constitutional Convention, lady asked Ben Franklin, well, what kind of government is it? A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it. And it seems to me the education profession is central to the vitality of our democratic republic.
You know,
Not much. You have covered it all. I'm very pleased with this. I've always felt that teachers are very underappreciated, and I don't mean necessarily by districts or boards or whatever, but by the whole community, by the rest of the country a lot. In the last 20 years, it's been, to me, unforgivable, what we've thought of in whole for teachers, and I'm glad that this at least doesn't reflect that. We're nothing without our teachers. That's it.
I'm going to exercise a little bit of privilege here and speak on behalf of the board and really try to reinforce what you just said about a level of trust on both sides. I think it's super important to understand it's not always easy coming to our board meetings and you come discuss us, and we're really not too responsive in a form, but we do care. We're listening. We're always listening, and we're always trying to get as much information as possible. I think the big thing is understanding, there's two of us that still have kids in the school district. We have as much to gain as you guys do. There's two former parents, a grandparent, so that we do, from our perspective, this is obviously a very awesome day, and we're happy to be able to provide this meeting, but understand that I think you guys know, you look around the state and what McCleary wasn't a fix. I mean, there's so many districts who are hurting, and what the state did was they still are, you know, they're still giving more handouts to the more wealthy districts. And it did cause a lot of hurt. We're fortunate with past practice that we're able to deflect some of that stuff off, but I don't think the fight's over by any stretch of the imagination. And so having that unified backing is going to be super huge going forward, because next session we will be back down there saying, hey, you know, yeah, we made progress, but you guys have fallen well short. So, and I know there's even weaknesses beyond that. And I would also like to commend both sides for keeping, not fighting through the media, which is easy to do. I know negotiations are not easy. It's tough sometimes. You have to have honest conversation, and so, but it's good that you can keep that, as I like to say, kind of within the family, and then hash those out, have honest conversations, critically think about what our goals are. So, I guess with that said, you know, congratulations to everybody, and hopefully this is, you know, yeah, like you said, we're no longer JV. You know,
Here.
we've got the facilities to prove that. So, okay. With that, do you have anything?
No, I'm just very proud of all of our staff on both sides who worked on this, came up with something that's good for kids and good for our teachers.
All right. So with that, September 20th, 2018, 6:30 will be a normal, regular board meeting across the hall. And with that said, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Just do it.
We don't really.
Thanks, guys.
Well, I want to.
Do you want these for the other meeting?
Just doing it in bang?
I'm such a
Just
weird
wanted-
pages?